This is the 14 or 10, 16, and this is for my son when he grows up. I'm speaking English, and maybe I'll make it text in Danish later. When I was living in the south of Denmark by the German border, the father of Alex asked me to look by someone to look for a horse. And she had some beautiful three-yearling, four-yearling, and they were ready for competition. But they were also a little bit expensive. And I was concerned about you could say if there was any competitive places and places to keep those horses. So then I stumbled over a foal that was neglected. It was under a year and it was having a fur that tells that it was neglected, and it was devastated, depressed small foal, right? So I bought her pretty expensive actually, and I had her as all her life. And she was a full-blood Arabian Anglo, and we traced her ancestors to be as all over the world, of course, to Spain, character of Spain, and Arabian, Egyptian, and so on. She was world famous actually. Actually, her name was Hera, and you know the film Hero, which is also a beautiful horse. I don't like the film, but I like the stories of the military horses saved their owner's life. When I grew up with Hera, she was the first that recognized I was pregnant with Alex before I was. She was pointing at my stomach and saying there is some life in there, you know. And at that time, she was 3 years old, and she became. I trained her the way that she was still getting stronger and stronger. A full-blood horse is powerful, a powerful machine, you could say, and you have to not break it. You don't break a full blood. If you break a full blood, it will never be as beautiful, as proud as a full blood really is. And don't break horses. You can be friends to them, and if they don't like you, choose another. And Hera was, she was a full blood, so she was never standing still. You couldn't almost, if you brushed her, she had to be distracted a little bit by carrots or knocking around things or something. She was always moving, and that is the full blood is always moving. So they're not useful for dressage because they can never stand still. I trained her softly because she had very soft coat, very soft legs, so I didn't train her very hard. And she was also a type that make her exercise herself. She trained herself actually. And we were not lucky finding a good riding school, so we traveled a lot around. And when Alex was born, this is remarkable actually. Normally, when you are pregnant and you get a child, the horse is for the most people like a dog, something you are friendly to, and it's a part of a family. But because I understand horses so well, Hera was becoming, she was moving from being my adopted foal. I understand horses as a horse. So she actually impressed me by moving her being my foal to being my son's sister. And that's how it goes in the real world, in the horse world. That means that she wasn't jealous. She was my first foal, she thinks, right? She's adopted, and she recognized me as her mom, as a horse mom, right? And when Alex came, he was my new foal. So she moved to the side of him and became his sister. So Alex has the best, or had the best friend in Hera, who nursed his hair and who looked at me when we had a interference or something. So actually Hera was, we were a little small group, the horse Hera and little Alex and me, right? We were a small horse group and we stick together, and if Hera didn't want to be at a place, I moved her. And she always, when she was moved, she come in the stable with raised hair and marching in and kicking, not kicking, but she owned the whole thing in a good way. She was impressive. And always when we moved her, she walked in a new stable. Hey, what's going on here? Is that a nice, do you got good hay in straw? No, and she was always in that timber, and often became a place that were not management good. So she became a little depressed about the place, and there were so we moved her, and she, we moved always when things were not good. And actually, the last place when they took Alex in 2012, she was sent off. She was sent from Esbjerg to the racetrack in Billund because I feared for Alex's and my life to get her a safe place while we were staying safe away from railways and buses and roads, right? It didn't help us much anyway. And when I again came back to, after 2012, came back to Hera, I was devastated about all what happened to Alex. And she was devastated as well. She knew he wasn't by me, so she was devastated. And then we had some good summers in a small farm, and I actually gave a big helping hand to that man because he had not an easy life. And I fed all the horses in Hera and maintained so she felt good. And she was beautiful, strong, and looked like $1 million. And actually, she thanked off. She said, she had traced forgotten stud horses 10 kilometers from there. And she had been sent away for riding school while I was running a case. And when she came back, she had been by a trainer, and I had tried to find a place, about to think that she had some interference in that. But I thought that it was a stud with a lot of nature and grassing, and there was coming a summer on. So I thought she was going to be a little off all the traffic and in the nature. And we came there, and it was in the night, and it looks a bit messy. And I thought that this is maybe not so good. And then I realized there was a necessary need for getting people in there because there were forgotten horses. Horses with no shelter and so on. And actually, if I think about it now, I think that Hera and maybe also the rescued dog led on the road to those horses. I think that my horse thanks off by finding the horses, the finding the foals, that should have been found. And I had no place to put her. The racetrack were closed, and the riding schools were blacklisted and so on. That was not to do with horses. That was to do with top sport and industrial espionage and all the political things. So actually, I decided to put her down because I could not offer her the best place. And these were like the bottom of the bad places we've been. And also all the other riding schools were closed doors for bad management and stuff like that. So actually I decided in her mission, she told something. She said in a way that this is important for me, and I could also see that the loss of Alex as by me was terrifying for her. So actually I decided, and also because I think like people that slaughter horses, I think that if you know that you cannot hold on to a horse because you can't find the right stable, or the horse is not going to be sold or something, then I think, frankly, that a responsible person slaughter or put the vet down, right? I think that it's unresponsible to just find some other stable. I had some arrangement. I even had a place where I could put her myself, and then I would try and find a new horse to go with her. But it was like a mountain sometimes to find places for her and get her moved and something like that. It was not easy, and I am in a hostile environment in Denmark. Everything is hostile. So actually, I thought it was best to put her down and then know, and I hopefully the vet didn't fool around. I hope that she is put down and cannot be, waking up with a new passport and be somebody else. I have no really trust in the riding sport in Denmark. I think I've been excluded in a way organizing. I've been excluded in import. I had some import agreement with the surrounding countries. I've been treated from big payments and so on. I actually would have a stud by now. I would have been given diplomatically import export horses for being a good diplomat as a kind of a gift from a diplomacy. And actually, that should be the retirement of being on missions. Should be that I could go back to a farm with horses. That was the idea about Hope or Promise, the Arabian stallion, or something like that. Actually, some of the idea I had to do a riding school or a start was that I actually, when I was young, wanted to be doing with horses, and the diplomacy has not been my first choice, right? So I had hoped that I could build up an economy to make a start, a small start, and retire there while I was, recover from diplomacy. And actually, I'm sorry to say that the government of Denmark, the UK, and the United States, Clintons, have really ruined that. So the one horse I had as a rescue horse was the one thing I had left. They took Alex in 2012. They had taken all the money, the CV, the ID, account. So actually, they took everything, and that's a piracy thing.